Matt, can I ask you a question in terms of imagery has been mentioned a few times as being universal in terms of trying to create brands and tell stories about brands. How important is the imagery when it's been applied, or how crucial is it to get the right images when it's been applied across different cultures?
Being mindful of those differences, because you're absolutely right, they do exist. If we're sending a photographer out to a different market, we'll just have a good think about who we're sending out. We've got photojournalists that we use in our main markets, Brazil, India, China, who understand sort of the cultural differences there and what those images that they're taking might mean. But for us, if you're mindful of it, you can use it to your advantage and put that into the debate. And if you're talking about the analysis of one photograph, for example, whether a certain behaviour that you're capturing might represent something, you can throw open the different subjective meanings of what that might mean to sort of help explore.
So Matt, I loved what you were saying. I think that one of the things that we've learned, not just with visual imagery, but it's certainly as true with visual imagery as everything. First of all, people engage with content more when it's local.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody engages with photographs being shared on Facebook, and we understand that's kind of the highest engaging content. All that's well and good, but the work that we do, like with Dreyer's ice cream out of Singapore, the more local. I mean, there's a phenomena in Singapore as some of the kind of pollution, if you will, the fires that were burning in neighboring countries were kind of creating a haze in Singapore, right? And our ability to create visual content that to some degree poked a little fun at this, but was very locally oriented to a phenomena that everyone recognized, just made engagement numbers go through the roof. And so there's a little bit about relevancy. There's a little bit about quite a bit of what you were describing, and are good to caution us on about the different cultural meanings of imagery. And then there's just like downright stuff about me and my community that matters more to me than broad-based stuff.
For us, for where we're at the moment, is we deal with quite controlled communities where we're recruiting people and we're sort of managing that process rather than dipping into a wider sort of global community and sort of analysing a mass of photography. So it's that, I suppose that issue is slightly easier to control and manage.
You said you have a controlled environment. What do you think there's some sort of mileage in the photos and the social networks visually sort of harnessing the stuff that users are uploading?
Massively. I mean, there's an obvious sort of usage right challenge, and getting people on board who are sort of willing for their photography to be sort of used for a commercial purpose, and that's a grey area in itself in terms of getting those usage rights signed off. But I think it's a massive opportunity.
Richard Stacey, John, he's an English social media guy, talks about sort of a social platform or network can be a brilliant place for a company to do some market research in terms of, you think if a community manager or someone was listening to this, it would be valid for them to go to the director and say, look, let's try doing some of this. You're spending a certain amount of budget on market research. Do you want to trial doing some research with the people who are actually following us, that are engaged with us on social networks?
Yeah, I mean, that's already happening at scale, though. I mean, I think that's for a lot of our brands. I mean, I have a brand, a global FMCG brand, who one of their core goals with their social business program is to reduce research costs by 20% overall. Augmenting a lot of the techniques that are still valid, with the ability to reach into their 5 million or 15 million fan base on Facebook to get reactions to things, to enlist 1% of that audience into a closer kind of focus group core, if you will. We're already doing it right and left. I mean, you see brands doing it all the time, just pinging people with questions, previewing new product, new flavors, new packaging, all of those kinds of things. So I think that I think the ambition there is well documented. I think there's a lot of great cases underway. I think that 20% goal, operationalizing it to the point where it's highly effective, is really the routine that we're in right now. So you make a great point.
John, from your perspective, how happy? Because we haven't done so much of that ourselves. How happy are people who might be following a certain brand's sort of Facebook page to then be asked sort of research questions or generally be involved in research?
Well, I mean, the devil's in the details. However, I think the general notion that a brand cares enough to ask their point of view, positions it well, demonstrates that they're kind of listening and responding to people that buy their products. I mean, it's generally well received. It's been my experience. So, I think it's I think the biggest challenge, and you might have something to say about this, is that Facebook's billions of users notwithstanding, in a very kind of social media mature market, if you will, we run into the challenge all the time of being clear: is the social media responding audience representative of the mass population in a particular market?
Exactly.
So I think. I see two things. One is, I think there's a general belief that that they generally are a kind of leading edge in a market, which it may not be true. I'm just telling you what I see, that they are a leading edge and therefore must be listened to. And the second thing I hear is that, look, we know it's not perfect, but it's pretty good, and it helps us. We can use it research for pointers to things we should do. It's not necessarily going to mean that we're going to change our product mix up that dramatically.
I mean, exactly. When we get given a brief, we get given a very specific recruitment spec. So we're asked to go and find people who fit a very, very specific, well, not very specific, but sort of range of different specific criterias. But I completely agree, to have that as a supplementary tool that you can dip into